Make sure y'all click there, scan that QR code, and get into the Discord, my nigga. We're gonna hop right into this shit.
So the AI team at Meta drops this, large concept models, as opposed to large language models. As I say, language modeling in a sentence representation space. So when it comes to these AI models,
I would say the title, Wes, it should be Stunning New uh LCM or Stunning New Model. Facebook Meta Stunning New Model, because it's not a LLM. It is a large language model, but the way Mark Zuckerberg is saying it is a large conceptualized model, which means it's more of a, you see how Apple thinks for you, not think for you, but it guesses the next word in a sentence. That is 100% of what Mark Zuckerberg is saying his process is. It's more of a thinking model. Now, I guess you can say technically it is a large language model architect, but I always like to flirt with the ideas, kind of, like, yo, is this model a large language model or is it a large conceptualized model? Because we do got to differentiate things if we're going into this field of tech advancement, because it's confusing now that we have all of these advancements under the same umbrella. It's impossible. That's like saying Kobe is the same as Michael Jordan. Impossible, bro. There are branches of players that they watched, which will ultimately lead to one, but the one isn't large language models. I just feel like it's just computer entirely, or the hardware of computer computation. My opinion, not yours. I just wanted to shoot like a little quick devil's advocate. Make sure y'all go tune into the video. I'm gonna start it right now.
these neural nets, everything is broken down into tokens. Tokens are like little bits of data that gets fed into the machine to train it, and then it's able to spit out sort of its inference. It's sort of a prediction about what the next token
Oh, last thing. That's one reason why I would say to change the title. Large language models, they're tokenomics. So it's like you pay someone or you give tokens to utilize something. Large conceptualized models does not have any tokenomics behind it. It's actually like a different type of way of getting your response. It thinks, it formulates and it thinks based off of the data it has, but the data that you're providing it to. So it's like conceptualizing a response. Like it's really predicting, which is like totally different than what we're used to.
tokens are, or whatever. So, for example, here's how that works for GPT 4o. So, if we write, here's a simple sentence that has 7 tokens. Each token is a word. Actually, a space at the end also is a token, and so is the period at the end. Some more complicated words might be multiple tokens. For example, tokenized, this case is 2 tokens, token and ized. Also, if I misspell a word, for example, I'll spell sentence with an S at the end. As you can see, that becomes 2 tokens. Video generation models, these tokens are video. For image, it's images, etc. But we can do this with pretty much anything. AlphaFold does it with the protein folding with amino acids, etc. But this can work for things like weather patterns, how certain
OpenAI
mistakes
is
in
working with my
quantum chips are produced and how to correct them, and pretty much anything else that we see in nature. If there's some pattern to it and we can sort of collect data about that pattern, we can feed it into a neural net and we can have that neural net sort of begin to simulate what would happen to kind of predict the outputs. In large language models, that's sort of a data, the input and output, they're words. More accurately, they're words broken up into these tokens. But what if instead of that kind of smallest possible unit being tokens, they were instead concepts? What if this neural net was trained to take in and output concepts as a
I think Mark Zuckerberg is the only one testing out scary theories. I feel like concept models came out of the hallucinations that occur with just large language models. So, like, in his head, he's like, why don't you just since we already have like a self-talk, you know what I mean? And I know Mark is thinking like that. He's a creep. I'm not no creep, but if I was trying to get data, I would think like that. Since we all have self-talk, right? Let me finish. Why don't we just have the large language model kind of build itself off of that and have the data so it could kind of be like what we go through, what's real and what's not real. The data is what's real, quote unquote. What's not real is the conceptualizations or the hallucinations that occur. if you can hone on those hallucinations and kind of like have it backed on data, he can conceptualize an answer in theory. That's why this shit is like, yo, Mark, duh, like, oh shit, you just like did the easiest task that other people weren't even paying attention to. Like everyone's complaining about hallucinating products, but he's like, yeah, we all hallucinate. That's why we have mental institutions. That's what Mark Zuckerberg's saying, and he's casually like throwing a bag behind it. Granted that he threw his whole life savings away during the 2020 run for large language models, so I'm not surprised Facebook is the first one to figure this out. If they weren't, yeah, Mark, I would still have to be side-eyeing you for that dumb ass investment into the metaverse. I ain't never gonna forget because it wasn't into large language models at first. Your stupid ass did it to the metaverse. God damn, that's gonna age well.
This paper says here's the current established technology of LLMs is to process input and generate output at the token level. This is in sharp contrast to humans who operate at multiple levels of abstraction, well beyond single words to analyze information and to generate creative content. And so here they're proposing a kind of a new architecture for these neural nets that sort of exist at a higher level semantic representation. So instead of a word, they're going to call it a concept, right? So this higher level semantic representation, they're calling a concept. Concepts are language and modality agnostic and represent a higher level idea or action in a flow. So this means that regardless of what language you're speaking or whether it's an image, text, whatever, we're sort of encoding some meaning that's higher than words or language, etc. And that's the idea behind this large concept.
I don't know who's a picture person. Well, hopefully y'all could see this right here, but I'm gonna hold it because this is all it really means what he's saying right now. Right? Boom. This right here. Right? Am I on the board? All right. Yeah, you guys can see it. Hopefully, this right here is the brain. Right? The brain. Basically, when it gets a response, rather than giving it back to the user, right? Rather than giving it back to the user, it's going to be another brain to make the concept. So it's going to be like piggybacking almost. You feel what I'm saying? So the brain working together with that. So once it conceptualizes a response, then it goes to the user. It's an extra step, but nothing changed with the process though. I just for the visual learners, I just wanted to make sure, since I was already here in the first place, y'all kind of get the idea.
Model.
I'm
Now,
gonna go
this
erase the
is
board,
kind
watch
of
the video
important,
of
especially if you followed the news recently. We had the DeepSeek V3 was released, a Chinese model that one would say either shocked or perhaps stunned the entire industry, in fact, in its ability to sort of, they were able to train this model with much less compute, I think tenfold less compute than, for example, Meta. And it performed extremely well, specifically on reasoning tasks, even though it wasn't a quote unquote reasoning model like what you see with O1 or O3 from OpenAI, but it was trained on some synthetic data from a reasoning model. But the point is, we're seeing these models do much better than we thought with less training, less data, less sort of investment into compute, etc. So, kind of keep that in mind as you read this. So, they're saying that, so they started their sort of explorations into these large concept models. They started with a 1.6 billion parameter model and training data in order of 1.3 trillion tokens. So, very small, much smaller than most things that you would consider even like usable. So right now the big models are like 1.7 trillion, right? Meta's model, their biggest one is 405 billion. Midline is, let's say,
Yo, it's gonna be crazy because I already know. I've been saying it for years. Hold on. I want to get to the end of it because of the hierarchy. I've been saying this for years, right? Cryptocurrency is gonna be the main source of how AI and everything is regulated. One, because you get to see everything that's done with AI on a transaction level and just on a like operational level, so you can see who's being communicated to. Secondly, the computation power. I don't think we have any systems right now that can do all the things on a GPU, CPU. that you could do on a local, like you feel me? Like it has to be on a GPU, CPU, on a mining type of setting for this to work. I.e., go to your nearest fucking business facility. They have an IT location. You feel me? Probably with mad servers on site. If not on site, there is a location where they use servers. Walk into that server room, my nigga. That shit is mm, just like a Bitcoin machine. You know what I mean? So like, it will only be ideal for AI to be on cryptocurrency, so it's not trackable, traceable, or like all of that cryptography stuff that makes it cool. But also, you can learn tokenomics, and tokenomics is going to be the currency that AI will be held on. So like you can back on a dollar because AI is going to be basically what funds all of this, or what is the hub or the central hub. So if you have tokenomics, you can use the dollar to transfer it to other, you know what I'm saying? Or you can use tokenomics to convert back to the dollar. But it won't be crypto though. It would just have to be like I guess, a universal token, similar to like how the US is the universal like dollar. You have to have a universal token for everyone to use for the tokenomics to be like the transfer of goods. So we need another fiat. This will never work because we'll never have I guess, a financial benchmark of what's occurring with AI. It'll always be what number is higher than theirs. There's no like, hey, I spent $10 and this is what I got. What did you get with your $10? To see who can make the best out of AI rather than who can just make the product and push it to market. That's what we're in right now. And it's like crypto, the Wild Wild West. People are making tokens and crypto coins, selling it, getting scammed. You know what I mean? NFTs, getting scammed. So like peep how the crypto market and the AI market kind of like doing the same fluff. Oh man, I love videos like this where you kind of get
Now,
to
this
flirt with
large concept
ideas.
model, well, there's a few. This model sort of simulates models the underlying reasoning process, not any particular sentence or output in any particular language. So that means they can be trained to acquire
Let me see
knowledge
if he
on
has the
all
link.
languages and modalities at once because it inputs and outputs in sort of a hierarchical structure. If you're able to go in there and you need to edit one thing,
See, what we're gonna do is go to the LCM thing because I don't want to react. All right, there we go. We'll do just do with Reddit because Reddit do be having that experimenting with LCM models. Let's make his channel explode. Really cool tutorial. I'm giving him a follow on YouTube. Yeah, dudes love this guy right here.
So a few days ago, Meta released a new architecture, and they call it large concept models, language modeling in a sentence representation space. Bottom line is that these aren't transformer models. They do utilize a small portion of transformers, which we'll go into in a second, but these are not like any sort of transformers architecture that you've ever seen before. And this architecture is really cool. I've played around with it now at this point. I'm a big fan of it. That's why I'm showcasing it. If I weren't a fan of it,
I
I
was
probably wouldn't
lazy
be making a
today.
video
So
on
in the
it,
morning, I'd
just
highlight
honestly. So very simplistically, there's a research
summarize
paper.
all of my
You can find
emails
the
and
research
Discord
paper. It's very
messages,
straightforward.
schedule
And then
time.
their paper outlines the framework for how to build this model out and their framework for building it out. They also release a few different models, um, and they scale it up to 7 billion parameters. So they released a few. Like as far as I know, they released a 7 billion parameter model. I haven't seen the 1.6 billion parameter model as far as the weights. Um,
Yo, dude, I'm gonna make sure to give you a shout out because this is epic shit right here. You got your Google Colab stuff. I'm about to check out your channel. I know you're doing the review right now. I want to give it a different video because you, as opposed to other people. Oh yeah, you got that. Yeah, you got that. You got that. Yeah, yeah, good to- yeah, and I'd love to see and hear your point of view on it. I honestly I wanted to freaking LCM, the evolution of AI. Let's save that for later. I wanted to freaking find something online without like utilizing the same word. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You can control how AI models learn. Oh yeah, yo, if y'all haven't, Richard Oregon. Oh yeah. I love it. Love the channel, love what you're doing right here. I got my ringers on. Um, yeah, Wes Roth too. That was his video. But Richard, yo, I thank God we found him, man. Cause now we really about to get crazy with this AI stuff. Word, we about to get crazy. Stunning new meta is LLM. Not an LLM to me, it's a LCM, different type of model. You heard it from Richard, right? Wes Roth didn't say that, but he is covering a topic that is fairly new, so we're gonna cut him some slack. But you heard Richard though. It is not anything like what Transformers are conceptual are technically. It is like a different type of model. It conceptualizes things. I'm curious to see what type of work he's done so far. I'm definitely going to check it out. I'm gonna make sure I let him know. And yeah, man, thanks for the video content. Let me know what y'all think about where this going. Everybody got an opinion. I just want to hear it. And make sure y'all practicing your own code because you don't want to miss out for this tech advancement, man.